everyone, it's Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio, and today I'm sharing with you day 7 of the Artist Trading Card a Day hashtag event that is offered to you by Art Joy of Sharing Art Community and Art Joy of Sharing live stream channel. We do this every June. This is the 4th year, and I'm starting out with a piece of watercolor paper that just had some leftover paint smeared on it with my finger, and then I put a Stencil Girl stencil over the top and wiped off some of the wet paint with a baby wipe. And it might have had something on underneath it too, but yeah, really cool background to start with. Don't have to do a whole heck of a lot to it really. So I decided to just do pen work today. This is very, very calming and relaxing to do, although I do get cramps in my wrist when I do it. But I am using the PIN pen brand permanent fine tip markers in 01 and 05. The way to make illustration or drawing or doodling or whatever interesting is to vary your line weights. And so I have a couple different thicknesses of nibs. I'm not going too crazy with it, but just a couple different sizes. And then I also have this Jelly Roll white pen. I don't normally use Jelly Roll or the Sakura white pen because I really have a lot of trouble with them here in the very dry state of Arizona. But this was actually working. Yesterday I took, well, not yesterday, but a couple days ago, I took a class from Seth Apter. It was a mini book madness class, and it was 2 hours of a live stream on Facebook, and he said something about this type of pen is that we tend to put too much pressure on the nib and it stops working. It stops the ink from flowing, and if you just lighten up on the pressure and just let it kind of roll across, the ink will flow. And so I got out this pen and I said, you know what, he's right. Seems to be working fine. I've had this pen in my drawer for several, couple years at least, and I've never liked it. I always use my acrylic paint pens, which are the Posca pens or the Arteza pens that have acrylic paint in them. That's what I use in mixed media. But I actually was happy today with this Jelly Roll gel pen. So yeah, it makes really fine marks. And then I'm using the fatter of the black ones. That would be the 05. I use those on the outside of the wheels, and then I'm trying to make them look like flowers, although I think they're supposed to be like bicycle wheels or something like that, or wagon wheels. I don't know. I really like the stencil, and I will look it up and link it below so that you can see who makes it, who designed it, and what the stencil's called. I don't know off the top of my head. It's one of those mask style stencils, so it doesn't have the little printing on it. I know it's from Stencil Girl. I know it's a 6x6, and that's all I know. I showed it to you at the beginning. It's very dirty. It's got paint all over it, but it's really fun to gel print with this one and to do different things like that. I tend to like the mask style stencil a lot more than the regular stencil. That's just my personal preference. So then I'm using the really skinny nib. It's an 01. It's tiny, tiny little skinny lines to go like inside and try to make maybe something like the gills on the bottom of a mushroom. They're kind of a little bit squiggly. The lines are squiggly and they're very close together, but I think that's cool looking. And then I'm just alternating back and forth between all the different pens. I do add some dots in different places. I add petals to the smaller in between little wheels to make them into a flower shape. There really wasn't any room to put petals on the bigger ones because those little ones were squeezed in between. So I don't know. This was fun. It was really relaxing to just make marks and draw with some pens, and everything worked really well over the top of the acrylic paint. I didn't have any clogging or anything. I mean, this paper is dry because When I made the background the other day, I was messing with some acrylic paint and I had some leftover blue and some leftover pink. And I just kind of smeared it on there with my fingers over whatever background this was, and then just slapped that stencil over the top, and I had a wet baby wipe that I just wiped off and made this interesting pattern. So yeah, it's been sitting around for a few days. That's why it's dry. And that's probably why I didn't have any trouble with the pens, because I'm impatient, and I think things are dry, and I dry them with my heat tool and try to make sure they're dry before I draw over the top of them. And I get trouble with my pens. That's the reason I tend to go with the acrylic pens, because they're more forgiving. And I can just kind of, if I get a little bit of a clog, I can just write it off my scratch paper, and I can usually unclog it before I really ruin the pen, because I thought that the paint was dry. I did. Just too impatient, way too impatient. So different ones, different wheels got different treatments depending on whether I use the white pen or whether I use the black pen, whether I use the fat pen, whether I use the thin pen. There is some variation, although when you look at it as a finished whole, you're just kind of like, it all looks the same. But our brain knows that there's line weight and color variation, even though we're not consciously thinking about it. I also have a piece of black cardstock. Um, it's a heavy piece of paper. I think it actually might be paper that you mat with. And I think maybe it was in a package that I received from someone. And I cut those down into um, backgrounds background pieces for my ATCs, because it's so thick and nice. This thing is not going to bend at all, because it's got the 300-pound GSM or 140-pound weight watercolor paper glued to then like a mat board type thing. So it's a really sturdy ATC. No bendy, not at all. So now I'm making some dots. I also have my things that I glue on the back that say my name, my city, and then all my different social media links. And then there's a little quote at the bottom from Bob Ross. We don't make mistakes, just happy little accidents. That's something I used to say when I taught rubber stamping. I would say, there are no mistakes, just opportunities for embellishment. If your ink splats or you make a smear, just glue a bow on the top of it, right? So it's kind of the same idea, only from Bob Ross. Happy little accidents. So once that's all decorated up, then I'm just going to glue it. I did go around the edges with some black ink, just to make the edges nice and black before I glued it on to the background. Then I just glued it on with some tacky glue, put the other thing on the back, and I did add a little sticker from Tim Holtz pack. So it says Imagine. I hope you're enjoying this video series and this video in particular. If you are, please remember to give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment below or a question if you have one. Come join us over in the Art Joy of Sharing art community on Facebook and share your art or do ATCs a day with us. It's not too late to join. If you don't make one every single day, we're not, there's no ATC police. It's just for getting you enthused for doing lots of art during the summer. So all those things, if you do all those things, subscribe and turn on your notification bells, all those things help my channel grow by getting me recommended to more people who might be interested in my content. So that's always awesome if you do those things for me. So here's my chat sticker that says Imagine. I'm going to put a little I put a little glue on it. I guess it was off screen because I have this zoomed all the way in, but I put some Yoo-hoo under there just to make sure the sticker stays stuck. And that's it for day 7. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.